President of the United Cities and Local Government, provincial leaders of the South African Local Government Association in Gauteng, executive mayors of municipalities in Gauteng, in particular our co-hosts, the executive mayor of the district of the West Rand and the executive mayor of the Rand West City, leaders of civil society and faith-based organizations, captains of industry, trade union representatives, the provincial commissioner of the police and heads of law enforcement agencies, the Auditor General of South Africa, members of the eminent group of social cohesion champions, the people of Gauteng. Please join me in acknowledging right at the beginning the presence of members of the family committee representing the bereaved families of the life Esidimeni tragedy in which more than 100 mental health patients lost their lives. Those members of the bereaved families representing all of them who are with us today are the following: Christine Ngumalo and Langa Ngumalo, Lucas Mukwerani, Nozi Joan Maditse, Kevin Maditse, Sandra Sifularo, and Karabo Sifularo. We welcome you in joining us here today as we mourn the passing of the mental health patients. Madam Speaker, we have been working very closely with the family committee as we implement the remedial action outlined by the Health Ombuds, Professor Malekapuru Makhoba, in his report released on the 1st of February this year. On Saturday, the 18th of February, we held a healing ceremony at the Freedom Park at the request of the bereaved and affected families. At this healing ceremony, families made an impassioned plea to government to do everything to ensure that we get to the bottom of this tragedy, and they made another impassioned plea that the tragic death of mental health patients should be taken very, very seriously. They made a special plea to all politicians and political parties that none of us should use this tragedy as a political football. And they said to us, because when we do this, they said to us, when we do this as politicians, this prolongs their pain and anguish. I hereby begin with an appeal to this House that as we honor the bereaved, we should also honor the wishes of their families. As we implement the recommendations of the Health Ombuds report, every step we take will be guided by the wishes of the families and the advice of the panel of 60 experts appointed by the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. The pace at which we move in implementing all the recommendations of the Health Ombuds will be determined strictly by the wishes of the families and the advice of this panel of experts. We are collaborating with civil society groups that have already been very involved on this matter so that no one is left behind. As the Premier of this province, I have publicly stated my deep regret and profuse apology for the tragic death of so many of our vulnerable citizens who were under the care of our Provincial Department of Health. As we meet today, I would like to reiterate the commitment I made to the families on the 15th of December and on Saturday, the 18th of February, that I will spend the remainder of my term of office over the next 2 years to ensure that there's restorative justice and healing for the families, and to take every executive action possible to restore confidence in our public health system and ensure that all the families affected are happy in how this matter has been resolved. I would like to categorically state that the decision to transfer live Esidimeni mental health patients to NGOs was not made in consultation with the Provincial Executive Council, which I have the honor to lead. The Executive Council and I would have never approved a plan to outsource mental health, a primary responsibility of the state, to take care of vulnerable, and particularly the most vulnerable in our society, such as mental health patients. We would have never supported a decision to outsource this to NGOs, whether they would have been licensed or not. What is even worse is the fact that such NGOs don't even meet appropriate standards and the legal prescripts of our country. The Provincial Department of Health has repeatedly reported to me previously that they had new facilities, new hospitals, and new community health care centers which had enough beds to can accommodate any patients who are in any private health facility such as Selby Hospital, Life Esidimeni, and others. As the provincial executive, we do not interfere with the appointment or retention of service providers by our various departments in strict observance of the laws of our land. We dare not be found on the wrong side of the law. I have already emphasized in several meetings with MECs and HODs that when they review whatever contract with a service provider who is providing whatever kind of service to our government, especially to communities, the first thing they must ensure is that no service delivery is compromised, especially to the most vulnerable groups which depend entirely on the state for their well-being. I've emphasized again and again that cost considerations can never override the imperative of the quality of care, particularly in our public health system. It is now common cause, Madam Speaker, that the ill-fated transfer of patients to the NGOs compromise the well-being of mental health patients who were at Life Esidimeni. At the very least, the department should have placed all patients in public health facilities as they claimed that we had enough public beds in our public health facilities. The claim which has proven quite clearly to be inaccurate as we deal with this matter now. As the head of government in our province, I'm deeply aggrieved by the extent to which those responsible for this tragic and ill-fated transfer of patients to unlawfully operating NGOs have tried to hide the facts and information from me as the Premier, from the Minister of Health, as well as their determined effort to try and withhold the facts from the Health Ombudsman. Together with the Minister of Health and the newly appointed Health MEC, Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa, we are taking swift and decisive action to implement all the 18 recommendations of the Health Ombudsman. And the most urgent of these recommendations is to relocate mental health patients to appropriate facilities and close down all the NGOs that have been identified by the Health Ombudsman report. We will provide regular updates to the legislature, to the Health Ombudsman, and to members of the public on the progress we are making. Honorable Speaker, we are also working very closely with the families to deal with all the issues identified in the Health Ombudsman report. On Saturday, we hosted the ceremony for the affected and bereaved families, and this was a heart-rending moment for all of us. We will work with the families to ensure we can erect a lasting monument for all those who passed on. Learning from this tragic death of mental health patients, I have decided to institute wide-ranging inspections and conditional assessment of all centers that care for the most vulnerable in our province. And those centers will include the following: centers where we have our elderly people, centers where we have the people with disability, and centers where we have our children attending early childhood development. Whether these centers are licensed or not, we must make sure that they operate under conditions that are acceptable. It is our responsibility as the state to take care of the weak. Every institution that provides services to the most vulnerable must meet appropriate standards. We cannot wait for another tragedy before we take wide-ranging action. The Life Esidimeni tragedy must spur us into action over the next 2 years to restore the dignity and human rights of all mental health patients and all vulnerable groups in our communities. I am determined, Honorable Speaker, to lead this mission over the next 2 years of my term of office as the Premier of this province. I will appoint the Premier's Mental Health Advisory Panel to assist in this important mission. Madam Speaker, Life Esidimeni tragedy should have happened, and it should never happen again. Please allow me to now give an account to the people of our province and their public representatives of the progress and challenges we have been making since the beginning of our term of office in ensuring that we give dignity to our people, including the historically disadvantaged groups and the most vulnerable in our society. Honorable Speaker, I don't have to remind you that this State of the Province address takes place at the midpoint of our term of office as the 5th administration. And what we want to do today is to identify and discern the main trends of our progress and trajectory with regard to the successes and shortcomings of our ANC-led 5th administration in Gauteng. A more detailed, evidence-based midterm report will be released publicly before the end of March. So what I would like to do today is to give some overview. I will do so taking into account that today this legislature sitting is taking place in the West Rand district, one of the 5 development corridors of our provincial economic development plan, and it is therefore fitting and proper to reflect on the work we are doing to revitalize the economy of this region and accelerate social transformation as well as radical economic transformation. Madam Speaker, the municipalities and the people of this region refuse to be left behind or be left out of every development plan and progress in the transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization of Gauteng. They are proudly part and parcel of the Gauteng city region. Please join me in congratulating the West Rand district for moving from number 2 in the 2015 matric results to become the best performing district in our province in the 2016 grade 12 examinations. Congratulations, the people of the West Rand. We are very proud of you. This is a sign that things are changing in this region and the future can only be bright with good educational outcomes. In my first State of the Province address, I made a commitment that the provincial government will do much more work to revitalize the economies of the West Rand and Esidimeni as marginal districts in order to integrate these 2 districts in our metropolitan economy of the Gauteng city region. This can only be achieved through massive infrastructure development. I am pleased to report that a lot of progress has been made in this region through partnerships between the provincial government, municipalities, and the private sector. There are very promising projects that are currently underway with regard to township industrial parks, agricultural parks, human settlements, road infrastructure, renewable energy, as well as building social infrastructure. Some of the specific projects include the following. With regard to human settlements, 6,500 houses are currently under construction in Western area, Borwa, and 9,000 houses are under construction in Kokosi, Extension 6 and 7, whilst 1,000 houses are under construction in Motlakeng, Extension 11. The Syferfontein mega project that will provide up to 40,000 units is finally being launched by MEC Mashatile and I in June this year. Under the auspices of the West Rand, it used to be between the West Rand and Johannesburg. It will now be launched under the auspices of the West Rand in this very municipality of Rand West City. Further progress on human settlements development will be announced by MEC Mashatile. We are also making progress with regard to the development of the Lanseria's new city, which is the city between Johannesburg and the West Rand districts. Other interventions include the upgrading and construction of new roads and work on the logistics hub in this region. Upgrading of the N14 highway that links the Western Corridor and the Northern Corridor has just been completed. With regard to tourism, expansion of infrastructure at the Maruping Cradle of Humankind World Heritage Site was completed to accommodate the increase in tourism numbers after the discovery of Homo naledi. We are expecting many more scientific discoveries to be announced by the team of paleoscientists in our province based at Wits University this year and next year. And this will increase the flow of local and foreign visitors to Maruping, including the best scientists in the world. In addition, the feasibility study for a logistics hub on the N12 between Rand West and Merafong has been completed, and work will begin in 2017 to build this logistics hub. With regard to agriculture and agro-processing, we are supporting 178 smallholder farmers through our farmer support and development program. The establishment of the Western Area Hydroponic Agri-Park, which is the latest technology in farming, has already been completed. The Merafong Flora Agri-Park was completed and is now producing high-quality products, including tomato, cucumber, and green pepper. And we are also investing in the Isigayo milling plant right here in Randfontein. With regard to industrialization and reindustrialization, the revitalization of industrial parks in our townships in Gauteng, Motlakeng, and Chamdo is currently underway.
Can I remind our guests that you are not supposed to be participating in the proceedings, including clapping of hands, as the Premier is presenting? Thank you. The
establishment of a bicycle manufacturing or assembly factory in Motlakeng has also been taking place, and we also have a very successful bus mark plant in Randfontein, which manufactures and assembles buses for the BRT system in metros all over South Africa. And this plant employs more than 2,000 people. All these public and private sector projects have injected a new lease of life in the economy of the West Rand district. The implementation of our plan adopted at the West Rand Economic Summit held on the 2nd of February this year, will fast-track the transformation of this district into a more sustainable and inclusive space that is an integral part of a thriving and socially cohesive Gauteng province. The plan adopted by the West Rand Economic Summit prioritizes agriculture and agro-processing, mining and mineral beneficiation, the manufacturing of capital equipment and machinery, tourism, retail, and the township economy. Madam Speaker, please join me in acknowledging in our presence today members of the Mohlakeng youth movement, young people who are running a legendary education project called Mohlakeng Underground Library from a shack in the township in Mohlakeng. The story of these young people has been one of the most inspiring and breathtaking stories of post-apartheid South Africa. These young people from Mohlakeng started a library in a shack after a community library was burned down during a community protest. They are now collecting books and they are teaching township kids the value of reading and the value of books. They assist the kids with their homework and train them in different cultural activities. The executive mayor of the Rand West municipality, Councillor Elias Kumalo, and I have agreed that we will work together with these young people in partnership to build a new library in Mohlakeng. The municipality has already allocated land for this purpose, and MEC Faith Mazibuko is already considering the budgetary allocation for this. The new library should be in full operation by the end of term of this 5th administration. Honorable members, I would also like to share with you one final success story of this West Rand district. Please join me in acknowledging in our presence today Mr. Patutolo Pet Nodada, a cutting-edge black industrialist. He is the MD and owner of this Basmat factory I was referring to earlier on, and his company manufactures buses using amazing advanced technology of the future, and this is done right here in Rand West, right here in Randfontein. I must confess that the story of Patutolo amazes me. I love what you are doing, Patutolo. You are a great inspiration to what it means to be a black entrepreneur. Madam Speaker, at this point, I would like to give a briefing on our work regarding the economy in general in our province, infrastructure, and jobs. Allow me to now report on the progress regarding these areas of importance. And all this has to do with transforming our economy in order to achieve greater employment, greater empowerment, inclusive growth, and shared prosperity. We meet at a time when the global and domestic economy has been characterized by sluggish growth over the past 2 years. However, it is heartening to say that the Gauteng provincial economy has remained resilient as the economic industrial hub of South Africa and the SADC region. Gauteng has recorded the largest net gain in new jobs created since the 2008 global financial crisis. Between 2010 and the end of 2016, our provincial economy created more than 700,000 new jobs. Since the start of our 5th administration in 2015 in particular, our provincial economy has created 317,000 jobs and has broken through the ceiling over a biannual basis of less than 300,000 jobs that has been the feature of this economy over the past decade. Honorable members, taking into account the dynamic of job losses in various sectors of our economy, particularly manufacturing and mining, as well as the grueling reality that 42% of all migrants from all over our country come into Gauteng, prefer to come into Gauteng, and this excludes migrants from all over the continent and all over the world. These employment gains are significant, although they are not sufficient to turn the tide of unemployment. They are significant, but not sufficient to turn the tide of unemployment. We know fully well that in order to significantly decrease unemployment, we need to double this number and reach at least 600,000 new jobs over a 2-year period from 2017 until 2019. It's only when we have employment at this rate that we will have a positive impact that many of our residents and citizens will now begin to feel. Rapid implementation of our new provincial economic development plan, which has been embraced by all stakeholders, adopted at the June Gauteng Economic Indaba, will become the immediate focus of Team Gauteng in partnership with municipalities and our social partners, especially the private sector. We are engaging in an amazing work of direct interaction with business leaders at firm level and through what we call industry action labs to unlock the employment and empowerment potential of every key sector of the Gauteng economy. Together with industry leaders and municipalities, we are identifying and addressing local impediments that hinder the growth of employment, empowerment, and exports coming out of our province. We are doing this work in partnership with economists from various universities, particularly the University of Johannesburg and the Gordon Institute of Business Sciences, which is part of the University of Pretoria. In addition, we are doing work to enhance the contribution of innovation, research, and development in partnership with the CSIR, the University of Witwatersrand, and the Vaal University of Technology through the Gauteng Innovation Hub. We have a memorandum of understanding with all Gauteng-based universities and some research institutes to work together in ensuring that they contribute to our drive to make Gauteng the leader in innovation, research, and development, and the knowledge-based economy. The new future-oriented economy is taking shape in our province, and it is important that we take part in the fourth industrial revolution that is gripping the world. Madam Speaker, we have intensified our work regarding economic diplomacy as part of the Gauteng city region to make this, our province, a preferred destination for investment and tourism. We are focusing on increasing trade and investment flows with major economies in Africa, in the BRIC countries, in the Asia and the Pacific, in Europe and in the Americas. We are also working in partnership with transnational and domestic business chambers that are based in our province. We have a more targeted and purposeful approach to international visits and trade missions. Gauteng's ability to attract foreign direct investment is unparalleled and unmatched in our country. Between 2014 and 2016, our provincial economy attracted more than 66 billion rands worth of FDI inflows. The Gauteng Investment Center, our one-stop shop, and the team at the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency is doing a wonderful job to make our province a preferred investment destination. With regard to tourism, Gauteng receives the largest number of foreign tourists who come into our country. That is 41.4% of the total tourist flow into South Africa. In addition, Gauteng has the highest number of bed nights and revenue generated out of tourism compared to other provinces, within the international tourist markets. We also receive the majority of African land-based tourists. The Gauteng Tourism Authority is doing a great job in promoting our province as a hub for business tourism. With regard to the revitalization and mainstreaming of the township economy, the Gauteng provincial government has increased its spend on the township economy from 600 million in 2014 to 6 billion in 2016. Honorable Speaker, this represents 22% of the 30% target we have set for 2019. We are emboldened that we will far surpass this 30% not only in 2019, and for this reason, we want now to reach 40% by the end of our term in 2019. The number of township enterprises benefiting from public procurement has increased threefold from 800 in 2014 to more than 2,800 in January 2017. Honorable members, the key question we now have to ask is not whether to empower township enterprises or black businesses or not. The key question is how do we make this empowerment sustainable beyond government tenders? This is the question we must confront as we give content and character to radical economic transformation as the first pillar of our transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization program. We would like to encourage all big businesses to support township enterprises. Having achieved the above, we're now moving towards the second wave of empowerment, which will ensure that black businesses and township enterprises that we are empowering now become more sustainable by participating in other sectors of the economy, because 80% of our economy is in the private sector. Some of the radical measures we are undertaking in partnership with key leaders of industry, and I want to emphasize, in partnership with key leaders of industry, include the following. Firstly, assisting and encouraging black firms and township businesses that they must produce goods locally and sell them to domestic and foreign markets. This is very important because as we empower black businesses and township enterprises, we must not be transferring this empowerment to those that don't need it. We must ensure every rent of this goes to black businesses and township enterprises. But this can only happen if they are producers and just not importers and not hiring expertise from established white businesses. Setting conditions for big businesses that are doing work with our government to subcontract at least 30% of their main contracts to qualifying black firms and township enterprises in a manner that ensures that meaningful economic participation is sustainable. We also strengthening our supplier development program to ensure that new and emerging black firms benefit from major contracts in the private sector in terms of skills and technology transfer. We are supporting new alternative stock exchange initiatives, particularly those focusing on the township economy, in order to broaden access to capital by historically disadvantaged groups. This includes the newly licensed stock exchanges and cooperative banks that are currently emerging in our economy. Working with industry leaders in major sectors of the economy, we want to ensure that those we are empowering also take part in empowering others, and they also create jobs. So all the black businesses and township enterprises we are empowering must know they must empower others, they must grow together with others, they must create jobs. Honorable members, I would like to share with you some of the trends emerging in our infrastructure initiatives. We all agree as parties in this House that building and maintaining infrastructure is the lifeblood of our social and economic transformation agenda. Infrastructure investment is one of the most positive trends of the fifth administration. And I would like to share with you some of the numbers. Between 2013 and 2016, our infrastructure investment amounted to 30 billion rands, translating into an average annual growth rate of 20%. And this is the fastest growth in the investment in infrastructure in our country. Evidence emerging from this investment, this evidence is provided by the KPMG study, points to the following findings: that through investing 30 billion in infrastructure, we have helped to create 92,000 direct jobs which were added to the Gauteng economy between 2013 and 2016 through infrastructure investment. In addition, for the 30 billion rand spent on infrastructure, 15 billion rands has gone directly to support incomes in our household. On average, for every 1 rand spent on infrastructure, 92 cents are added to the Gauteng economy. Infrastructure spend increased government revenue by 6 billion rand. So as we spend 30 billion rands to revitalize and modernize our infrastructure, we have also contributed 6 billion rands to government revenue. Infrastructure spending has also resulted in additional economic activity in various sectors of our economy worth 26 billion rands, therefore helping to trigger employment and empower our citizens throughout our province. So all the employment figures I referred to earlier, the 700,000 jobs since 2008, and the 317,000 jobs since 2014, are also as a result of the direct impact of our infrastructure investments. This suggests that without government-led infrastructure investments at provincial, national, and local level, our economy could have easily slid into recession with serious consequences for families and businesses alike. From the point of view of radical economic transformation, our infrastructure spend also played a key and decisive role in pushing forward in an uncompromising manner the empowerment of historically disadvantaged individuals and black firms, as well as township enterprises. In construction and professional services, we are spending more than 91% of our budget on historically disadvantaged individuals. Honorable members, we are spending more than 91% of our provincial budget on goods and services in empowering historically disadvantaged individuals, including township enterprises. So the question for us is not whether we can use public procurement to empower or not. We are already reaching close to 100% on this. The principal challenge is that most historically disadvantaged groups tend to rely on sourcing capacities such as materials, especially those in the construction space, skills and finance from established white businesses, or they import these materials from elsewhere in the world, and this undermines our efforts on reindustrialization, localization, and sustainable inclusive growth of our economy. As we roll out the 42 billion rands infrastructure budget for the next 3 years, which MEC Chris will outline later in March, we need to ensure that there's a decisive shift to true empowerment of black firms so that they can become more sustainable, more transformative, as they grow and contribute to industrialization and local manufacturing initiatives in the Gauteng economy. Our infrastructure investment must also support the priority economic sectors and help to redress spatial imbalances in the 5 development corridors in our province. And through infrastructure spend, we must also ensure that we re-industrialize, increase employment, and empower those who have been previously left out of our economy. I would like to take this opportunity to urge all municipalities in our province to continue working together with us to deliver the state-of-the-art infrastructure to our city region so that we can create more jobs and improve the quality of life of our residents. As the leaders representing all citizens, let us work and act together in the public interest by resisting any temptation to assert our authority in a way that stops projects that benefit citizens in the economy of our province. We shouldn't stop projects that benefit citizens in the economy of our province. We should not compromise the quality of service delivery. We should not compromise the quality of care for the most vulnerable in our communities, such as the mental health patients. Let us work together regardless of which party runs which sphere of government to roll out infrastructure projects that are beneficial to all residents of Gauteng. And these projects include public transport, broadband and free Wi-Fi, water and sanitation, mega human settlements and new industrial nodes across our province. We are closely working together with the Executive Mayor of Tshwane, Councillor Solim Simang, to ensure that Tshwane plays its rightful role as the capital city of our country. And we are jointly promoting the growth of the automotive industry, the aerospace and defense sector, agro-processing and agribusiness, innovation, research and development in our capital city. Together with Mayor Simang, we want to ensure that we roll out Roslyn Auto City, we roll out Hammanskraal BPO, and the Centurion Aerospace Village. And this we must do together without any delay. We are also working well with the Executive Mayor Mzwandile Masina of Ekurhuleni to ensure that we implement urgently the development of the Eretropolis as quickly as possible because there's a lot of private sector interest. And the Eretropolis development, as we have said before, will revitalize the manufacturing base of Ekurhuleni and position Ekurhuleni as the advanced manufacturing hub of sub-Saharan Africa and the leader of the 4th Industrial Revolution. We are in agreement with the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Councillor Herman Mashaba, that the renewal of the Joburg inner city has to be undertaken urgently together in partnership between the province, the city, and the private sector. And we are doing everything to make sure that the inner city of Johannesburg, which is the house that houses our provincial government, is revitalized. Similarly, we are working with the executive mayors of the districts of the West Rand and Esidimeni and the local mayors in ensuring that the regional economies of these two areas are revitalized by building new mega human settlements and post-apartheid cities in these two areas. The people of our province expect a great deal of political maturity and cooperation from all their provincial and municipal governors. We certainly must embrace the fact that our province is governed by different political parties at provincial and local level. However, we must not use politics to hinder rapid implementation of programs and projects which objectively benefit Gauteng city residents. So, honorable members Over the next 2 years, we and the mayors will work together. And I want to repeat the call I have made to the mayors, that let's work together to fast-track the rollout of infrastructure projects that have long-term benefits and that have been planned over a long period of time in the following areas. Firstly, in the area of public transport and logistics, we have projects that have long been planned. In the area of housing and human settlements, in the area of renewable energy and other energy projects, in the area of ICT and broadband, in the area of government precincts, including the Kopanom precinct, in the area of water and sanitation, in the area of health infrastructure, especially to ensure that there are community-based centers which must help to strengthen primary health care, to take care of all the vulnerable in our communities. We must work together also in ensuring that we build new infrastructure, particularly new schools, to meet the growing demand of better education arising from our initial successes. We must also build new libraries and recreational facilities in our communities. We must build social development facilities. So, as we meet today, we say we have no choice but to work together. And without partnership, we cannot get very, very far. Today, I want to go a little bit without getting into too much details in some of the issues pertaining to our infrastructure. More details will be announced by MECs later this week. However, some of the highlights of our big projects for the next 2 years will be in human settlements, public transport, energy, and broadband. Firstly, among the interventions we are planning as part of our infrastructure rollout, amongst the interventions we are planning is to deal decisively with the availability of land. We cannot build infrastructure unless we have land available. So, we want to ensure there's sufficient land available for social and economic transformation in order to effect the transformation of both the space and the economy of our province. We must approach the land question from the standpoint of being an urban province. So we need land for economic and social development, not necessarily for agriculture. Although in more agricultural regions like the West Rand and Esidimeni, there are portions of land that will be used for agriculture, we principally need land for social and economic investments. Accordingly, we will implement constitutional measures such as expropriation of land in some areas of our province where we know there's land lying fallow, so that we can locate new developments not in the periphery, but in the urban core of our province. Black people cannot be housed always in the periphery. They must be located in the urban core of our province. Gone are the days when black people must be settled far away from economic opportunities and social amenities. Secondly, the long-awaited construction of mega human settlements and new cities will commence in earnest this year in 2017. In total, there are 31 new mega human settlements that are both public and private that will start in April in different corridors of our province. MEC Mashatile will make a detailed announcement later this week about which are those mega human settlements. And this will include ensuring that we address the fundamental question we've always raised, the transformation of hostels into residential units, and ensuring that those who have lived in hostels for many years are also beneficiaries of our human settlements development. As we implement our new mega human settlements program, we are also doing work in the renewal of all townships across our province. Thirdly, we are mobilizing resources for public transport infrastructure in ways that will ensure that we don't commit the same mistakes done when the e-tolls were implemented. We can't build infrastructure such as roads, and only come back to people later to inform them that they must pay. They can't be told later that this infrastructure we are building is going to be paid for. We must be transparent with residents of our province. We must be honest with them, and every infrastructure we build which will require them to pay cannot be done without their consultation. Madam Speaker, I have publicly admitted that all the efforts we made through the advisory panel on e-tolls in order to resolve the major concern of the affordability and otherwise of the e-tolls have not yielded satisfactory results from the point of view of motorists. I have admitted previously, and I want to reiterate today, that all these efforts have not resolved the problem. We have tried our best. There are many mayors who have made announcements that they will do something about this matter. We have tried our best. The truth is that this matter can only be resolved by our national government. We will continue to engage with our national government in order to represent the interests and concerns of the Gauteng residents. Everybody agrees, municipal mayors and members of our executive council, that this matter can only be resolved by our national government. Madam Speaker, we have worked in partnership with the taxi industry, and this partnership is beginning to yield positive results. I want to acknowledge the pioneering role of the taxi industry in advancing genuine black participation in the economy, even during the dark days of apartheid. I would like to commend the leadership of the taxi associations in our province for signing an important memorandum of understanding with the provincial government. And this memorandum of understanding has to be implemented urgently by the political steering committee appointed by our cabinet. We are committed to ensure that the taxi industry is empowered, it is transformed, it is modernized, and it forms part of the BRT system, it forms part of the expansion of the Gauteng, and the taxi industry cannot be left behind. I am pleased to announce that we have completed the feasibility study of the expansion of the Gauteng and its full integration into the broader modern public transport system of our province. The new areas that will be covered by the Gauteng Phase 2 will include the following: Mamelodi in Tshwane, Boksburg in Ekurhuleni, Randburg and Lanseria in Johannesburg, parts of Mogale City and Randwest City, including the new Fontaine mega human settlement development. It will also cover Rodiport and Jabulani in Soweto. This expansion will primarily be done on the public-private partnership basis in different phases, and it will take a period of 2 decades to complete. But that work will start now. Other areas that are currently covered by the PRASA rail infrastructure are also undergoing significant modernization. And the rail infrastructure of PRASA, which covers the parts of Esidimeni, parts of Ekurhuleni, parts of Tshwane, and parts of the West Rand and Joburg, will benefit from the PRASA rail modernization project. And we are working together to integrate the Gauteng rail network with the PRASA rail network so that we have one rail system as part of the move to form an integrated public transport system in Gauteng and a single transport authority. MEC Ismail Vadi will give more details about this rail network revolution that will fundamentally transform the spatial and economic landscape of our province. Honorable members, I would also like to report that the implementation of the rooftop solar PV project, which I announced in 2015, will start in 16 health facilities this year, as well as in schools. This project will help us to ensure the provision of clean energy to public facilities, while at the same time saving money on the huge utility bills that are currently crippling our health and educational budgets due to billing problems and the absence of a culture of saving energy and water in our system. Since 2014, we have rolled out more than 1,500 kilometers of network fiber. We have connected 8 core sites and more than 800 access sites to the Gauteng broadband network. By March this year, we will connect more than 1,000 sites in line with our target of connecting 3,000 sites by 2020. More details will be announced in this regard by MEC Chrissy and all the relevant MECs. Let me once more call on our executive mayors to partner with us in ensuring that we roll out broadband infrastructure to modernize our economy and also modernize the way we do things so that we are not left behind. As servants of the people, we should always ensure that we continue and not discontinue free Wi-Fi projects because, honorable members, because many young people are benefiting from this project. Many young people are setting themselves up as startup businesses precisely because they have access to free Wi and broadband in our province. Whatever changes take place in government and whatever new programs are introduced, let us ensure we retain all those programs that have proven to benefit our residents and citizens, and do so in a non-partisan way, because we are leaders of all our people, not just leaders of some of our people. In order to ensure that all our economic and social infrastructure plans are implemented with rigor and that we transform our economy, increase employment and empowerment, and increase exports, I would like to announce, honorable members, that I have decided finally, as I've been announcing for a year and a half in the legislature, to appoint the Premier's Economic Advisory Panel, which are made of the following entrepreneurs, experts, and representatives of labor and business. The list of the Economic Advisory Panel includes Mr. Jabu Muleketi, the former MEC and former Deputy Minister for Finance, who will be the chair of the panel. In addition, Dr. Sizeka Rensbeck, Ms. Chichi Maponya, Mr. Lumkile Mondi, Mr. Dumisani Dakile, Ms. Trudy Makaya, Dr. Tandi Ndlovu, Ms. Pamela Mondliwa, Mr. Ravi Naidu, Professor Fiona Trigena, Dr. Paul Jordan, Mr. Pepi Silinga, Mr. Davis Cook, and Ms. Tebogo Nkosi are all members of the Economic Advisory Panel. The panel will advise the Premier and the Gauteng provincial government, particularly the Economic Development Department led by MEC Maile, on implementing strategies to realize our objectives with regard to increasing employment, increasing empowerment, increasing exports, and building an inclusive economy in which all of us share. This will be done in accordance with the vision outlined in the National Development Plan and our Provincial Economic Development Plan. Honorable members, allow me now to pay attention to the important question of the work we are doing in empowering the youth so that they can meaningfully participate in our economy. Madam Speaker, the youth of our country and our province have made it clear to us that they want to be their own liberators, like the generation of the 1940s led by Mziwake Anton Limbede. They have made it clear to us that they want to be their own liberators. Since 2014, when we launched SEPO 500,000, the flagship program focusing on creating economic opportunities for our youth and to ease their access into the labor market and enhance their entrepreneurial development, this program has achieved some significant results. It has achieved some results, but we first have to understand the scale of the problem. Youth unemployment is the most acute and primary economic problem facing our time. Although the scale varies across the world, particularly the developing world, there's no economy that is free from youth unemployment. In our province, there are 2.7 million young people of working age who are neither in education or in employment, while 3 million of them are in our public and private schools, in our universities and TVET colleges. So many of the young people who are not in employment and in education end up getting involved in social ills such as drugs and substance abuse, as well as getting involved in crime. These young people, 2.7 million of them, deserve a second chance. We have to do something about their problem. And SEPO 500,000 was launched to unlock opportunities for at least the first 500,000 of these young people, in order to enhance their employability and ignite the spirit of entrepreneurship amongst our youth. And this we do to take our youth away from self-destructive lifestyles of drugs, of violence, and of crime. So what have we achieved over the first 2.5 years? Having started with the target of 500,000 over 5 years, we have now been able to give opportunities which include permanent employment, training, and entrepreneurship to more than 350,000 young people who have benefited from 4 pillars of our SEPO 500,000. And the details are as follows. More than 90,000 of them, to be precise, 91,000 of these young people are now employed in sustainable employment, which they never had 2.5 years ago. And this has been done in partnership with the private sector and public sector institutions. With regard to training and development of their skills, 145,000 young people have been trained and others are still in our programs. And they are not just being trained in general, they are being trained in areas of high demand in the labor market. With regard to entrepreneurship development, more than 15,000 young people are now accredited entrepreneurs and are receiving support from our procurement processes and supplier development programs in partnership with various organizations in the private sector as well as state-owned enterprises. And the last category of youth who have benefited are those young people who are in transitional employment in the public and private sector employment schemes. More than 110,000 young people have benefited from the public employment schemes, the EPWP and the CPWP programs, and other short-term employment opportunities. So, Madam Speaker, we have reached a point where we can draw some lessons on SEPO 500,000. So 500,000 is not enough. We have 2.7 million young people who are not in employment and in education. So we have to upscale. We can't be complacent, having done what we have done. So what are our plans to upscale? We have undertaken new partnerships, including a partnership with Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator and a partnership with private sector companies in order to increase the number of young people we are going to reach from just 500,000 to more than 1 million over the next 2 years remaining of our term. This we want to do, honorable members, because the magnitude of the problem is huge. We can't be satisfied with reaching only 500,000. Given the magnitude of our problem of youth unemployment, the positive response we have been receiving from the private sector partners and state-owned enterprises is the experience we are building on that we can do more. We can achieve more than what we have achieved so far. So over the next 2 years, what are we going to do? And what partnerships do we have? Not what partnerships do we want to have. Already we have a partnership with Microsoft to provide training in digital skills to more than 1 million young people, jobs in the digital economy. The second partnership will focus on ensuring that the massive open online varsity move, which is now training 80,000 young people who are accessing free, high-quality online university education, and this program was started in Johannesburg, is expanded to reach more young people, not just in Johannesburg, but throughout Gauteng province. We also have a partnership with the business process outsourcing sector to facilitate the creation, quite urgently because these jobs are there in demand, of 20,000 digital skills, and young people who are currently being trained will be directed into those 20,000 digital jobs in the immediate. This is a partnership that works. We also have a partnership with young entrepreneurs who call themselves Buddy Box, who are working with the National Youth Development Agency here in our province. And now that we are working with them, we will double our efforts together with them. They're already doing this work on the ground to reach more than 10,000 enterprises owned by young people, including creating new opportunities for young people to create their own enterprises in wholesale and retail sector in our townships. This is a real partnership that exists. We also have a partnership with Coca-Cola to provide employment and entrepreneurship opportunities for young people, at least more than 30,000 of them in new retail outlets throughout the townships in Gauteng. And this partnership is being rolled out right now. Through the National Youth Service, we will increase the number of opportunities for young people in our EPWP programs to reach at least 300,000 young people. Honorable members, there are many of our young people who have no skills to talk about. And young people are not of the same profile. So with the EPWP programs, we want to reach those young people who have dropped out of school before they reach matric. Because evidence points to the fact that those who have at least completed matric and have a degree or so or a diploma have a better chance of getting employment than those who don't have matric at all. So those who don't have matric at all, young people in our townships also deserve a second chance. We must not forget them. It is for this reason that we are also taking the program that used to be called Josie at Work to make it Gauteng at Work, to make it all over the province, again to reach many young people throughout our province who, if not helped, will be left out of our economy. These are young people, many of whom have not completed matric. So through the new Gauteng at Work program, we will also reach these young people. We have a partnership with SAP, that is the ICT company, to train the unemployed graduates in ICT skills that are in high demand, as well as to train 10,000 school leavers in science, technology, economics, and mathematics. This is a partnership we will extend to other businesses across our province. And lastly, we have a partnership that we are just finalizing the details of with the logistics, fast-moving consumer goods, retail, real estate, food and beverages, as well as the aerospace and defense sectors, to open more opportunities regarding training, employment, and entrepreneurship for the youth. The youth agenda is now, and it must take shape now. In addition, honorable members, The provincial government has adopted a policy that everyone who does business with us, particularly in the infrastructure space, must ensure when they employ, at least 50% of the people they employ are young people, because youth unemployment is the biggest problem we face, and we must succeed in tackling this problem now. Honorable Speaker, these are more than statistics. These numbers represent real young people who were previously left out. I would like to thank the private sector and state-owned enterprises that have worked with us to get us to where we are. I would like to call on other businesses to join us in this endeavor. We must work together to achieve much more. I am humbled and grateful to all those business leaders who have lended us their ear, who are working with us to give hope to our youth. I would like to call on civil society and other businesses, as well as our municipalities, to join us in the crusade to give youth a chance to prove themselves. In our Interesano community outreach programs, young people have made it clear to us, and particularly to me, that they don't want handouts. They don't want patronage. They want to be empowered so that they can take charge of their own destiny and become their own liberators. They want opportunities to be opened so that they can seize them with both hands. Let us work together to give our youth these opportunities. Honorable members, with regard to accelerating social transformation and promoting social cohesion, we are investing firstly in education, quality public education, as the most decisive and sustainable way through which we can empower our youth. Turning around the performance of our public schools, particularly in the townships, is not an easy task, and it has become one of the hallmarks of radical social and economic transformation. In Gauteng province, we can proudly report that increasingly townships are becoming centers of academic and educational excellence and redress. We have narrowed the performance gap between fee-paying schools, which are mostly township schools, and no fee-paying schools, from 27% in 2011 to 16% in 2016, which is a mark of addressing equity in the entire system. 7 out of 10 learners who start grade 1 in Gauteng are now able to reach grade 12, which is a major improvement in the throughput rate to reduce the number of those who fall by the wayside in the system. Although our province dropped from the top 2 to number 3 in the grade 12 results, we need to report to you that we have increased from 84% in 2015 to 85% in 2016 metric results. Most importantly, other than this percentage, is that Gauteng has contributed a remarkable 23% of all bachelor passes to the national number of bachelor passes. Gauteng learners have also contributed 22% to all national distinctions. And many of these learners are in our township schools. Another important trend is that the quality of our performance is spread evenly in all the districts in our province across all the corridors of development, with no district recording a pass rate of less than 80%. No district in Gauteng records a pass rate of less than 80%. This means that geographically we are also closing the disparities across our province. Our township schools have recorded the largest increase in matric passes in 2016. For example, the Johannesburg Central District, which includes Soweto, which was one of the most difficult and bad performing districts, has now improved from 77% to 83% in 2016. This was one of the most difficult areas for for the public education system in our province. We have also reduced the number of schools that perform below 40%. The number of schools in Gauteng that perform below 40% has reduced from 14 in 2014 to only 2 in 2016. A more independent indicator of improvements in Gauteng education is the fact that our province performed better than all other provinces and even countries on the continent in maths and science in the recent trends in international mathematics and science study called TIMSS. One of our success stories of improvement in the township schools is that girl learners are taking their rightful place among the top performing learners in our public schools, particularly in the townships. The trend that's emerging is that girl learners are now dominating the top performers, particularly in distinctions. Systematic support for girl learners is beginning to produce positive results. Malbongwe igama lamakhosikazi. Currently, we, as the Gauteng provincial government, are supporting girl learners by providing more than 300,000 dignity packs to them. More than 300,000. But this is not enough. The Executive Council has now taken a decision that we must provide more than 1 million learners with dignity packs, especially the girl learners, so that they remain in school. And this target we will reach by 2019, more than 1 million girl learners. We are also well on track with our program of modernizing schools through ICT. Since the launch of the program in 2015, we have prioritized no-fee paying schools to improve educational outcomes. The ICT rollout benefited over 64,000 learners in grade 12 in 377 no-fee schools, as well as converting 1,800 classrooms into smart classrooms. Over 9,000 educators have been issued with laptops. To respond to the pressures of our public education system brought about by the high levels of in-migration into Gauteng, we are now strengthening our program to build new school infrastructure. I would like to say to the people of our province that we have a huge challenge with regard to the number of new learners who move into Gauteng schools from elsewhere in the country every year. This year alone, 19,000 additional learners arrived in our schools in January this year, and they would have neither applied to indicate that they would be coming. Most of these learners, I must indicate, are now placed. Most of these learners, except less than 100, according to the report I received from the MEC. While we have no control over learner in-migration into our province, I want to assure the parents who have been calling me that we will prioritize the learners who are currently in our public schools in Gauteng province. I want to emphasize, we will not leave out learners, other learners, but we will prioritize learners who are currently in our schools, because this is causing huge anxiety amongst parents about whether next year they will have space for their children next to where they live. We will prioritize them as we grapple with this challenge of in-migration into our province. Since 2014, we have built 43 new schools, including new ICT-enabled classrooms in the existing schools. In the next 2 years, we will build 34 new schools. We'll also build 1,200 libraries and build more than 470 school libraries. Madam Speaker, I've also been phoned by parents who are concerned about the online registration process that has made it very difficult for many of our learners to be placed in schools at the beginning of this year. Many of the parents have raised the concern that this process has been very, very tedious for them. and we hear them. MEC Lesufi has already publicly apologized for the inconvenience caused by this process of online registration. We will ensure that we obviate all the problems for the next academic year. Accordingly, I have directed MEC Lesufi to bring a plan to the next Provincial Executive Council in March, that is next month, in order to avoid similar problems in preparation for the 2017 registration process. I want to repeat that we have heard all these concerns, complaints, and anxieties of parents. We are addressing them, we are dealing with them. We will do so in consultation with them. Honorable members, we also have to ensure that as a province we contribute to educating more of our youth in higher education and TVET colleges, so that they have the appropriate skills required to make them productive citizens, to participate in our modern economy. And for this reason, our province has increased investments in the education of learners, particularly in higher education. We are now investing 800 million in bursaries for higher education learners coming from our province. This is an increase from 560 million I announced last year. And our target is that by the end of our term in 2019, we should be spending at least 1 billion rands as a provincial government alone, contributing to the training of our youth in universities and TVET colleges. Honorable members, for this reason, I would like to announce that over the next 3 years, we have also added 16 million rands. So 16 million rands will be added to the amount I have already announced of 800 million rands. And this 16 million rands will be added to educate learners coming from our townships. It will educate 40 learners. Where is this 16 million rands from? It comes from the sale of the Premier's official residence. That's the money. The 16 million rands from the sale of the Premier's residence will help educate 40 learners in our universities over the next 3 years for them to qualify as professionals. Honorable members, in the light of the Esidimeni tragedy, we have decided that with public health, we need to take a fresh approach. We need a fresh look at our public health system in our province. We know that whatever good work was being done by tens of thousands of dedicated public health professionals and managers across the system, as we stand now, this work has suffered a severe blow because of the horrific and inhuman treatment of mental health patients many of whom have passed away. So our public health system has suffered a severe reputational damage. It doesn't help to keep standing up and saying our public health system is doing well when it can't help the most vulnerable in our society. So we need a fresh approach to relook at everything we have been doing. Where we have been doing well, we have to be extra cautious that we do know all the facts. We do know that we are indeed improving the lives of our citizens. We can't make platitudes and claim that the system is working when it has failed more than 100 mental health patients who have lost their lives. Accordingly, I have directed the new MEC for Health, Dr. Gwen Ramogopa, to put in place priorities on how we are going to inspire all the good men and women in our public health system to rise to the occasion and provide quality health care in accordance with the oath they have taken when they qualified as professionals. In this regard, Dr. Ramogopa is working with the senior management team that's led by the acting HOD, Dr. Ernest Kinoshi, to put a plan in place, and this plan will be announced very, very soon in the coming few days. Honorable members, I would also like to announce that in agreement with Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa, the Premier will appoint an advisory council on mental health. So, as a way to ensure that what has happened never happens again. The Advisory Council on Mental Health will work with the new Mental Health Review Board that will be set up by Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa. The Advisory Council on Mental Health will look at how we can overhaul the mental health system and ensure that mental health patients across our province are prioritized because they are citizens who too deserve to be cared for by compassionate and caring government. With regard to social development, I'm pleased to announce that we have increased the number of graduates from our Welfare to Work program from 4,000 in 2016 to 10,500. From 4,000 in 2016, I want to repeat, to 10,500 this year. Just in 1 year, we have doubled the number of young people who are benefiting from this program. And these are young women who were depending on child support grants as the only source of income. Now they've been equipped with skills and are decently employed, and they are taking charge of their own lives, and they are becoming their own liberators. Our earlier target was to reach 11,000 by 2019. At 10,500, 11,000 is too small. So we have taken a decision as the Executive Council that we should reach 20,000 young people as a demonstration effect to show through this program that we can liberate many young people, particularly young women who are depending on state grants, and this includes young people with disability who are saying to us, we give us economic opportunities, we can do much more for ourselves. We can reach more people. We want to reach more people to show that those who can work for themselves, and it is better if you work for yourself. If you are capable of working for yourselves, you need an opportunity instead of just depending on state grants. State grants should be for the most vulnerable in our communities who cannot take care of themselves. Honorable members, although the number of people living below the poverty line has decreased from 32% in 2004 to 16% in 2016, we still have a long way to go in winning the war against poverty. Because close to 20% of the population of our province, a fairly rich province, close to 20% of our residents do not have enough food to eat every day. This is a serious problem. It's in fact a serious disaster for an economy that has enough resources to provide for more than 13 million of its residents. We cannot accept this as a reality. So for this reason, we are taking measures to tackle urban poverty and hunger. And since 2014, through the food bank, we are able to provide relief to more than 300,000 beneficiaries in 100,000 households in our province. Again, more than 300,000 beneficiaries and 100,000 households are not enough. We need to reach more people. We need to collaborate with everybody in society to reach more of our fellow citizens who don't have enough to eat every day. Honorable members, drugs and substance abuse continue to ravage our society. They rob our young people of a chance of a brighter future. Working together with our partners in the social movement against drugs, we have already been reaching many more young people. Over the next 2 years, we will strengthen the social movement against drugs and substance abuse. We will strengthen our program of Kimoja.
ke moja without drugs. I'm okay without drugs. Ke sharp ha ke sa kene ko di ritifatsi. I'm okay if I am not involved in substance and drug abuse. We have already reached more than 1 million young people. Again, as I said, 1 million is not enough because there are more than 2.7 million young people who are desperate, who every day could easily fall into the hands of drug lords and other criminal gangs. We need to do everything to reach these young people. And this we can only achieve together. With regards to people with disability, we are committed to reach more than 2% of employment and empowerment opportunities for people with disability. As I reported last year, we are still around 1.6% even this year. We want to reach more than 2%, which is a national target. With regard to HIV and AIDS, we are deeply concerned that whatever successes we have made and achievements we have made as a country with regard to our programs to fight HIV and AIDS, there is a very disturbing trend that is emerging, that the burden is shifting now to young women and including girl children. This will have disastrous consequences for our country. The indications are that the most vulnerable are girl learners and young women. And that's where there's an increase and greater risk in contracting HIV. We are worried by this, and we must not only be worried, but also take action, because there can be no future if young women and girl children are left at this level of risk. So in the next 2 years, we will be embarking on a campaign, a massive HIV awareness campaign that will now be targeting particularly all our schools in Gauteng. And this we will do in partnership with civil society. I would also like to report that as part of what I said in 2014, we said we will pay attention to the issues affecting military veterans in order to mainstream them into the socio-economic mainstream, as well as give them other opportunities in our society. Honorable members, Gauteng has more than 7,000 military veterans. So we have decided, working with military veterans, in partnership with them and other organs of civil society, that over the next 2 years we will attend to the following. Firstly, through the Department of Human Settlements, we are increasing our focus on housing appropriately all military veterans in our province. They have fought for freedom. They can't be left homeless to fend for themselves. Secondly, we also want to ensure that our public transport program gives access to public transport to all military veterans as we do with the elderly. Thirdly, we want to open opportunities in all our public health facilities across the province to ensure that all our military veterans have access to health care in our provincial health facilities so that they don't always have to walk to one military hospital in Tshwane, because many of them live far from Tshwane. They have to access health closer to where they live. In addition, we will provide bursaries to the dependents of military veterans. And we are also opening opportunities in the economy to make military veterans amongst the targeted groups we have identified in our program of radical social and economic transformation. Lastly, we are strengthening the military Veterans Affairs Desk in the Office of the Premier so that it can coordinate all programs across the Gauteng City region that are aimed at improving the well-being of military veterans. Madam Speaker, with regard to sports, arts and culture, we are glad to report that Gauteng remains the home of champions. We are the mecca of competitive sport in Africa. Gauteng is also the creative pulse of our country and the fountain of creative industries. Allow me to take this opportunity to bow and pay respects to our cultural and sporting icons that have passed on since the last State of the Province address. Gugu Zulu, Mduduzi Mandoza Shabalala, Sfiso Ngwani, Metandi Klassen, Lundi Chamaha, and the venerable Captain Joost van der Westhuizen. We all know that Mama Tandi Klassen and Joost van der Westhuizen were given both a civic and official funerals by the city and the provincial government working together with the national government. This is very important to respect those who have contributed to the success and social cohesion in our country. Honorable members, our successes in building Gauteng into a socially cohesive province and a champion for all creatives in our country is the work we will continue to do. I would like to say that a lot more will be announced by MEC Faith Mazibuko in this regard. We have new partnerships to ensure that we achieve our vision of making our province the home of competitive sport. These partnerships include a partnership with SASCOC, with the Soweto Marathon Trust, with the Lucas Radebe Foundation, with SAFA in Gauteng, with Netball Gauteng, with Gauteng Aquatics, with athletics, with rugby and other sports federations, including those that are for people with disabilities. Honorable members, we take this opportunity to congratulate Ntando Mahlangu, a Paralympian bronze medalist who is also a recipient of the Gauteng Sport Awards. Ntando's achievements are a true indication of school sports' ability to identify and nurture talent amongst our youth. In partnership with municipalities, and I must comment here, the city of Ekurhuleni, the city of Johannesburg, and the city of Tshwane, we are now hosting some of the global golf tournaments in our province. Madam Speaker, the creative industries contribute more than 3.3 billion rands in the Gauteng economy and employ more than 180,000 people in our province. It is for this reason that we have identified this sector as one of the key drivers of the Gauteng economy outlined in the Gauteng Economic Development Plan. It is important, honorable members, that we promote social cohesion and contribute to nation building. And this is one of the key priorities of our city region. We know too well that the task of building a nation requires that we work together across race, class, gender, religion, and political affiliation. It requires partnership. As this year has been declared by President Zuma as the year in which our country should celebrate the extraordinary leadership and vision of Oliver Tambo, our work on social cohesion is dedicated to this colossal icon of the liberation struggle. I would like to quote Oliver Tambo as an inspiration for our work on social cohesion, and I quote, "It is our responsibility to break down the barriers of division and create a country where there'll neither be whites nor blacks, just South Africans, free and united in diversity," close quote. And as part of promoting social cohesion and nation building, in March last year, I appointed a panel of social cohesion champions chaired by retired Judge Justice Yvonne Makhura, deputized by Professor Mary Metcalf, to work with us and civil society to address the fundamental challenges of building a socially cohesive society, particularly to address the problems of racism and xenophobia. The specific mandate of this group of champions will be to facilitate open and frank conversations on racism and xenophobia amongst various sectors of our population, to propose a set of comprehensive measures to facilitate social cohesion and greater integration of Gauteng communities, and recommend a provincial plan of action to combat racism and xenophobia in Gauteng. We applaud the work of the social cohesion champions because they have helped us deal with the recent incident at the Pretoria High School for Girls and helped us to resolve the matter, at least in the meantime, to the satisfaction of all involved. The social cohesion champions are also working with the African Diaspora Forum following the torching of homes in Rosettenville, where there's been incidents of crime, violence, and xenophobia, and vigilantism, including the recent protest action in parts of Tshwane and Ekurhuleni. I've always been clear, honorable members, that everyone is welcome in our province because Gauteng has always been a home for all for more than a century. We are South Africa's most cosmopolitan and an Afropolitan province. I have personally participated in marches on this matter and have been part of the action by civil society against xenophobia. I would like to make a call to all of us leaders everywhere, to handle the matter of migrants with a great deal of sensitivity and care. In any country, migrants and refugees are amongst the most vulnerable in society. We must never try to stigmatize or criminalize all migrants and foreign nationals, because this will have devastating consequences that will lead to the death of innocent people. The whole world is grappling with this issue right now, and let us deal with this matter in a way that will not fan the flames of xenophobic violence. Will not, honorable members, will not. I see the not is missing in my speech. Will not fan the flames of xenophobic violence. We remain committed to building a safer Gauteng for all. Once again, in partnership with all sectors of society. The trajectory on crime remains very, very negative. From Sophia Town to Soshanguve, from Kagiso to Katlehong, from Gauteng to Everton, from Eldorado Park to Rosettenville, from Olivenhout-Bosch to Tembisa, our communities are terrorized by gangsters, drug lords, and rapists. Murder and robbery remains excruciatingly high. Violence against women, children, and members of the LGBTI community remains out of control. At the community level, our campaign, Take Charge, has made some positive impact. Over the past 2 years, this campaign has reached more than 200,000 people across Gauteng. And in the spirit of building partnership, we call on communities to join Take Charge and help us deal with crime. However, our policemen and women are not coping with this challenge. They are not, so there's not missing in my speech. They are not getting the leadership they require from top management, due mainly to incessant infighting amongst the leadership of our police and law enforcement agencies. They are not getting the leadership they require due to infighting. We have now adopted a comprehensive Gauteng City Region policing plan through which we hope to turn the tide against crime. The leadership of the South African Police Service and law enforcement officers in Gauteng will be held accountable to delivering concrete results on performance target at station and cluster level. So we will have a target for every station and every cluster to reduce the level of crime. We want them to bring back visible policing. Visible policing was making a big difference in our province. We want them to bring back specialized units. I want every station cluster commissioner, every station commissioner, cluster commander, and indeed the provincial commissioner to report to me every 8 weeks about crime reduction targets and whether we are reaching these crime reduction targets or not. These are part of the delivery plans and targets we have set for every department in our province. And MECs are going to be reporting in every 8 weeks, so we want our law enforcement officers and the leadership thereof to report every 8 weeks on the reduction of crime across our province. We want to see real progress in the closure of drug dens and the arrest and prosecution of drug lords. We want to see serious decline in crime perpetrated against the most vulnerable in our communities, such as women, children, and the elderly, and members of the LGBTI community. Finally, we want collaboration and partnership and not competition between the police, South African Police Service, the Metro Police, and the entire criminal justice system. I will not take any excuses from the leadership of the police. And the provincial commissioner, I will not take any excuses from police management in our province. We want to see the police everywhere in Gauteng. Every hour of the day, the police must be visible. I would like to conclude by focusing on the work we are doing in building an accountable, responsive, and compassionate as well as clean government. Madam Speaker, in order to realize our program for transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization, we will require a capable developmental state that's led by men and women who serve with dedication, honor, and integrity. We remain seized with the task of building this accountable, transparent government underpinned by a state machinery that is compassionate, responsive, caring, efficient, and effective. And the loss of life of Esidimeni tells us that we have a very long way to go because of the way mental health patients and their families were treated. Our work, in many areas, our work is beginning to bear fruits. And one of those areas is improving audit outcomes. The 2014-16 financial year has seen market improvement and the best improvement of audit results in 14 years. All our departments and entities caught unqualified audit reports, and 60% of them got clean audits. The introduction of the open tender system has also helped to enhance probity, transparency, and integrity of the public procurement system. It is helping to restore public confidence in government decision-making. And we know that public procurement is always, all over the world, open to abuse and corruption. The open tender system in our province is now being rolled out to all departments. And this year, the number has increased tremendously. We are continuing to roll out the open tender system, particularly to bigger projects so that there is no chance of corruption. Honorable members, we are also addressing the time it takes to pay our service providers, a matter of great concern to me. Last year, I reported that 10 out of 14 departments were paying better. This year, 11 out of 14 departments are paying service providers. They are paying 93% of their invoices within 30 days, and 79% of these invoices are paid within 15 days. But I want to emphasize a big but. The big budgets departments such as DID, education, and health are not doing as well in this regard due to accruals. And there are service providers who have been sending me letters complaining that they could easily be liquidated because they are not being paid. Not even within 30 days. They are not being paid over an extended period of time. The Provincial Treasury is working on a plan which will be announced by MEC Krisi to address this fundamental problem urgently. Honorable members, to promote a culture of excellence, we would like to report that the Gauteng Treasury HOD, Ms. Nomfundo Shabalala, was acknowledged as the best provincial head of department in the Republic in the 2016 Batupile Awards. The best provincial head of the department in the Republic, Ms. Nomfundo Shabalala. The Gauteng, at the same awards, Gauteng Treasury won 2 silver and a gold at the Batupile Awards for the best provincial department and the most ethical and professionally managed department. The Gauteng Department of Education has won the 2016 Center for Public Service Innovation Ministerial Award for deploying ICT in education. The Roads and Transport Department has received the AU's Public Service Innovation Award on their revenue collection system. So, honorable members, we have problems in various departments, but we have centers of excellence. So as we deal with the problems in other departments, we must not forget that there are those who are doing their best. We continue to act against maladministration, incompetence, and corruption. In 2014, since 2014, we have instituted disciplinary proceedings against 125 officials who were found guilty of financial misconduct, including heads of departments. To date, 2 heads of departments have been dismissed for serious acts of misconduct. To further strengthen integrity, promotion, clean governance, and administration, we have now approved the anti-corruption and integrity guidelines, and this will lead to the appointment of the Premier's Integrity Promotion and Anti-Corruption Advisory Committee. Consistent with our ongoing work to build a responsive and caring government, we have introduced Ntirisano. Many of our residents have a good experience of this program, but I must say that the experience of life Esidimeni tells me that Ntirisano needs to do much more than it has done so far. Because for it to work better, and if it was working 100% better, we should have had an early warning system that disaster is looming in the mental health situation. Accordingly, we have decided to ensure that Ntirisano teams will also go in other centers where we have children, people, older persons, people with disability, in addition to those housing our mental health patients, to constantly check and satisfy ourselves that there's no neglect of our citizens. Madam Speaker, I would like to call on municipalities, especially executive mayors, to embrace partnership and collaboration. We must rise above party political differences and partnership in order to serve our people together as their servants. There can be no delivery to the people if we are embroiled in the rhetoric about winning the next election at all cost. Let us rather serve the people together at all cost. And in December 2016, we met with all the municipalities in our province to discuss the TMR, particularly the plans for every corridor in our province. And we have agreed on those plans, and we shall work together on making sure that these plans do take course. Let us make politics more constructive, transformative, and impactful on the lives of ordinary citizens. Politics must never be about pomp and ceremony and the attendant rush to appear in the news. Transformative politics must be about utilizing our budgets to radically transform lives and build sustainable livelihoods. It must be about the values of service and loyalty to citizens. This is a call to return to value-based politics, without which there can be no honor to talk about. If there's no value-based politics, we can't talk of ourselves as honorable members. Let us engage in the kind of politics that empower our youth to realize their dreams through access to better educational and entrepreneurship opportunities so that they can live independent and meaningful lives as productive and conscientious citizens. We need the kind of politics that empower women to break the shackles of patriarchy by empowering them to play their full role in the economy and in society as equals. Politics must be about building an economy that creates more jobs and includes blacks, women, and our youth, as well as people with disability and military veterans. Yes, we need a compassionate politics that protects the most vulnerable, such as mental health patients, and takes steps to ensure that never again should so many people die out of total neglect, arrogant treatment, and lack of care by us in government. I talk of a kind of politics that promotes social cohesion amongst people, regardless of their nationality, religion, gender, sexual orientation, class, or race. A politics that must be about ensuring that we have an accountable, responsive, and clean government. We are not getting clean audits in order to please the Auditor General, Mr. Kimi Makwetu. We are not getting these audits in order to please you, but because it's the right thing to do. We must do so because it's good leadership to manage public finances well and account for every cent we collect from taxpayers and ratepayers. Our politics must be about making a difference in the lives of others because we are servants of the people. Many of you who are here, both as public representatives and ordinary citizens, are doing something in ensuring that we contribute to a type of politics that's better. Some of us may still be involved in politics that are not very, very constructive, but help us to be involved in constructive politics that help to contribute to our country's change. Honorable members, I don't know what type of politics you subscribe to, but I subscribe to a type of politics that respects evidence, enjoys a good argument, and acknowledges reasoning even from your opponent, even from this part of the House. We acknowledge reasoning. We acknowledge criticism. That's the type of politics I belong to. Not insults, but criticism. Not chaos, but constructive way of helping us to build and serve our country. I subscribe to a politics of optimism and hope, even in the most serious situation of adversity and tragedy. I don't subscribe to politics of doom and gloom, politics of impending apocalypse, wherein politicians make a career out of preaching that South Africa is about to collapse, that everything is about to collapse. If I didn't believe in the power of the people, the power of the agency of our citizens, the power of the youth to change their own lives, the power of ordinary citizens to contribute to radical social and economic transformation, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here if I was not believing in the power of our people. Madam Speaker, let me conclude by thanking all those who continue to dream and work hard to ensure that we build a society where people can live meaningful lives in peace and harmony. I would like to thank firstly my wife and the entire family for giving me and other of our public representatives support. And for the people who I work with, I appreciate this support. And my entire family is here today because they too have been deeply touched by the loss of life of Esidimeni. My father is here today. My sister is here today. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law are also here today because they too have been touched by the loss of life which could have been avoided. I'd also like to thank Team Gauteng and Team City Region of MECs, executive mayors, for their commitment and renewed commitment to collaboration and service to the people of our city region. I would like to thank the Director General of our province, the heads of departments and special advisors, and all staff in my office for their hard work and dedication. I would like to recommit that we will do everything to ensure that when citizens want to access the Premier's office is accessible at all times. I would like to thank members of this House for their robust feedback and criticism so that we can constantly improve our work and do everything to meet the needs and expectations of our citizens. Thank you all. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.